A little background first: both of my parents were orphans, and my dad passed away just 2 weeks before I was born. My mom didn't have much of a support system, so it was just the two of us from the very beginning. Even though she was completely on her own, I never went without. My mom worked tirelessly her whole life to give me the life I have now. She never made time to start over or focus on herself. Every ounce of energy she had was poured into raising me. She took on every odd job imaginable, just to make sure I had everything I needed. She'd skip meals just to make sure I had enough to eat. I wore good clothes while she walked around in worn-out ones. I watched her make sacrifice after sacrifice, always with a smile on her face. Honestly, I used to think she was some kind of angel disguised as a human being. The only time she ever really raised her voice at me was when I was 16. She had started to look sick but still refused to slow down or stop working. I wanted to get a job to help her, and when I told her that, she got upset. She told me it wasn't my job to take care of her, it was hers to take care of me. All she wanted was for me to focus on school, get great grades, and get into a top university. That was her way of protecting me for the day when she wouldn't be able to anymore. Even when I got into college, she didn't want me working part-time. She said my energy should go towards studying. But she did encourage me to volunteer. She wanted me to become someone who could use both their head and their hands. That's actually how I met my wife, through volunteering. My wife's a good person, though she was never very close with her own family. Her bond with her parents and siblings was pretty distant. But from the moment she met my mother, she absolutely adored her. There were even times I joked that she loved my mom more than she loved me. Deep down, I think she was searching for the kind of mother-daughter connection she never got growing up. After I graduated and landed a job, my wife and I moved in together. But she started feeling uneasy about the fact that I called my mom every single day. Mind you, those calls only lasted about 10 to 15 minutes, but still, she wasn't too thrilled. Eventually, though, she stopped mentioning it. 2 years into our relationship, I bought a house for my mom. We had always bounced around from apartment to apartment growing up, never having a place to truly call our own. So for me, giving her a home was the absolute least I could do for everything she sacrificed. It was something I'd dreamed of since I was a kid, and in my mind, it was non-negotiable. That's when things started getting rocky with my girlfriend, now wife. She wanted me to think about our future together first. But I explained to her that buying my mom a house wasn't just something I wanted, it was something I had to do. I planned it as a surprise for my mom's birthday, so she had no idea about it yet. But then my girlfriend went behind my back and told my mom about the house. My mom, caught off guard and clearly uncomfortable, told me it wasn't necessary and that the money should be used for our future as a couple. That made me furious. I told her the house was hers, and she could do whatever she wanted with it, but that she finally needed to put herself first for once. Despite that rough patch, we managed to pull through. We got married and eventually got a house of our own. Everything seemed to be going well, until about 2 months ago. My mom fell seriously ill. Naturally, I wanted her to move in with us so I could take care of her. But my wife wasn't okay with that idea. So, I rented a small apartment next to our house, paid for it with my own money, just so I could stay close and care for her. Even then, my wife wasn't happy. We don't have kids yet, and we both work. I usually get home around 6 p.m., but since my mom's illness, I stop by to care for her and don't get home until 8. On weekends, I spend an hour or two with her, and the rest of the time is with my wife. We go on dates. I join her for her hobbies even though she never shows interest in mine. Then 2 days ago, she sat me down and told me she's been thinking things over, and she feels like I prioritize my mom over our relationship. She gave me an ultimatum: choose between her or my mother. The truth is, I've never made her feel like she came second. We both work, but I'm the one who cooks. I hired someone to clean so she wouldn't have to. I do the dishes exactly how she likes them done. She doesn't even know what my favorite meal is because I've never once complained. I run her bubble baths. I give her massages. I surprise her with flowers. I write her poems and hide them around the house for her to find. We take a weekend trip once a month. I earn significantly more than she does, but I told her to keep all her money. I'll cover every single bill, even hers. I always make an effort to really listen to her, value her opinions, and I'm easygoing enough to change plans to fit her needs. But I've started to realize she wants full control over me. The only thing I've ever stood firm on is my relationship with my mom. So now, I'm preparing to sit down with her and lay out some firm boundaries. If she can't respect them, then I think it's time we go our separate ways. Update. My wife, 31F, asked me, 34M, to choose between her and my mom, who's 55 and currently ill. And honestly, I think this is going to end in divorce. Hey guys, I've been getting a lot of messages asking for an update. I meant to post sooner, but I wanted to do it right. First off, Thank you for all the comments and DMs on my last post. I couldn't respond to everyone, but I read everything you sent. Before I confronted my wife, I took some time to think things through. I came to one solid conclusion: I will never again let anyone, no matter who they are, try to control the bond one have with my mom or how much time I give her. So, I decided to answer the ultimatum. But before I did, I asked my wife if there was anything else behind it, some deeper reason she felt the need to make me choose. She said no. I asked her again if there was anything she hadn't told me, anything she was holding back. She just said there wasn't and asked me to get to the point. So I told her I wanted a divorce. She froze. Didn't say a word. Just stared at me like she was in shock. I told her everything I'd been holding in. That our values were clearly different. That I was in the middle of one of the hardest moments of my life. My mother's health was declining fast. We've done a bunch of tests and still don't know what's wrong. Since she was an orphan, we have no idea about her family medical history. That unknown makes everything even more terrifying. I told my wife that in this moment, more than ever, I needed support. And if my own wife could tell me to pull away from my sick mother at a time like this, then clearly we weren't meant to be. She still didn't say anything. So I told her I'd be staying in a hotel for now, and that we'd talk later about how to handle the separation. I packed some things and left. The next day, I visited my mom. She sensed something was off right away. But I couldn't bring myself to tell her about the separation. She's already dealing with so much, and I didn't want to add another weight to her heart. I've never really talked to my mom about issues in my marriage. She doesn't know about any of this. Honestly, she thinks the world of my wife. And my wife has always treated her like a second mom. My mom even told me that my wife didn't visit that day. Yep, the same woman who demanded I limit my contact with my mom used to visit her daily when she got sick. I never asked her to do that. She just did it. She even started calling my mom Mom. Whenever she felt unwell, she'd go to my mother to be taken care of. That always hurt a little, like I wasn't enough. But she'd say it's different. That only a mom can offer that kind of comfort. I used to think that was just her way of building the mother-daughter relationship she never had. I understood her pain. She once told me that her mother used to say she should have never been born, that she was a mistake, an accident. Her mom even said she almost aborted her and regretted not going through with it. I mean, what kind of parent says that to a child? That's not just cruel, it's monstrous. So whenever my wife craved attention from my mom, I never said a word. I'd gotten so much love from my mother growing up, it felt like I had enough to share with anyone who needed it. After I moved out for college, my mom became a foster parent. She was always taking in children until about 2 years ago. I loved every one of those kids like real siblings. We still keep in touch, and I genuinely consider them family. Every year, we'd all go on a week-long vacation together, me, my mom, the kids, and my wife. I usually take 2 months off work each year, and 6 of those weeks are for just me and my wife. But the 2 weeks I reserved for that trip with my mom and the kids? That was apparently too much for her. Anyway, I'm getting off track. The day my mom mentioned that my wife hadn't come by, I headed straight home, worried something was wrong. I found her in the bathroom, still in her clothes, with red, puffy eyes. She looked like she'd been crying for hours. Seeing her like that broke me. I helped her out of the bathroom, and this woman, who usually has so much pride, completely fell apart in front of me. She sobbed uncontrollably, over and over. I don't know if it lasted an hour or two, but I just sat there silently while she let it all out. Eventually, through the tears, she told me something I never expected to hear. Deep down, she never actually wanted me to be less involved with my mom. She admitted that what she really felt was jealousy. Not just of the bond one shared with my mom, but also of how much attention my mom gave to the foster kids. She knew it wasn't logical, but she couldn't help competing, wanting to be the one my mom loved most. When I said I wanted to care for my mom while she was sick, it wasn't just about being a good son, she saw it as me taking her place. She didn't want me to be the one taking care of her. That stung. I didn't say anything out loud, but I was furious. I started wondering if she was completely out of touch, who thinks like that about someone seriously ill. She was willing to sabotage my relationship with my mother just to win some imaginary competition. Then she said something else that hit me like a truck. She told me she had always envied me. That if she had the choice, she would have rather been my mother's child than my wife, even if I was the love of her life and the only man she'd ever been with. She said I lived like nothing could touch me. That I gave and gave to everyone else but never let anyone get close to me. And that somehow, only my mother ever made it past those walls. At first, I couldn't wrap my head around what she was really saying. I was still stuck on that whole competition idea. But I stayed with her. I listened to every word. I tucked her into bed and stayed by her side until she fell asleep. Then I went and slept in the other room. The next morning, she acted like nothing had happened. Just her usual self. She told me not to pity her, and I said I didn't, it was love. She was still my wife. She went to work, and I did the same. Well, sort of. I decided to check into a hotel instead. I needed space. During that time alone, I started reflecting, really digging deep. And I realized she might have been right about one thing. That whole "I don't let people in" thing? Yeah, that hit home. From the time I was 5 until I turned 15, we moved constantly, over 50 times. Apartments, hotel rooms, one temporary place after another. I never stuck around long enough to build real friendships. Every move felt like saying goodbye to something before I even got to settle in. And I think somewhere along the way, I learned not to unpack emotionally either. Even with my wife, I guess I never truly planted roots. Not the way I thought I had. So I started thinking maybe divorce wasn't the answer. Maybe what we really needed was therapy. But then, something else happened. Just a little over a week after that talk, I got a call from the hospital. My wife had been admitted she wasn't feeling well. I rushed over to see her, but she didn't want to talk to me. When I saw the look in her eyes, I froze. I'd never seen so much hatred in a person's face before. Since she didn't want me there, I contacted her best friend and asked her to come support her. Then I called my mom. And that's when I got the shock of my life. My mom asked me what I had done to my wife, why she was hospitalized. She told me I shouldn't stress out a pregnant woman. Wait, what? My mom explained that my wife had told her she was pregnant. She had asked her to keep it quiet until she was ready to tell me herself. I didn't even know how to react. My head was spinning. Anger. Sadness. Total disbelief. My wife had told my mom she was pregnant before she told me? I went to see her again and told her I knew. But she just stared at me with that same cold expression and said, "I lost the baby. And it's your fault." Just like that. In one sentence, I found out I was going to be a dad, and that we'd lost the baby, and that she was blaming me for it. She told me to leave. So I did. I've always wanted to be a father. From a young age, I dreamed about it. But my wife wanted to focus on her career first, and I respected that. I waited. I tried for years to convince her, but I never pushed too hard. Now she gets pregnant, doesn't tell me, confides in my mom instead, and then blames me for a miscarriage I didn't even know was happening? Since then, she said she didn't tell me because she wanted to see if I could truly handle all the responsibilities I was carrying, if I could manage those and still raise a child. Honestly, I don't get her. I can't even look at her without feeling this burning anger. And I don't want to lash out with words I can't take back. I still take care of her, but we don't really speak anymore. I know I'm not staying in this marriage. That much is clear. I've started seeing a therapist. He told me that patience is my best weapon right now. That I shouldn't make permanent decisions while I'm drowning in emotions that might pass. He said I need time to really figure out if there's anything worth saving. So that's where I'm at. I don't know if I'll post another update after this. I've taken some time off work to be there for both my mom and my wife, but honestly, I feel drained. Depressed. I just want to disappear for a while. Thank you to everyone who responded to my first post, whether you offered support, advice, or even criticism. It all helped. Final update. Hey everyone. It's been a while. After my last post, I wasn't planning on writing anything more, but the messages didn't stop. Even months later, people are still reaching out, asking how I'm doing. So I figured the least I can do is give one final update. Because back when I was falling apart, your words helped me more than you know. I'm not sure how long this is going to be, but here goes. After my wife had the miscarriage, yes, she really was pregnant, I ended up taking care of her, because honestly, she just couldn't handle anything on her own after what happened. And while I was filled with nothing but rage and hurt, I remembered what I'd said before: if something is fragile enough to shatter, you don't slam it down, you handle it gently. I didn't want her to fall apart. I didn't want to be the one who walked away at the lowest point in her life. So I did what I felt was my duty as a husband, no matter how angry I was. But her mental health kept spiraling. She started acting like she was still pregnant. She'd talk to herself for hours. One night, she became completely delusional, mistook me for her father and started panicking, thinking I was going to hurt her. I had no choice but to call emergency services. After several evaluations, a psychiatrist strongly recommended she be admitted. And so she was. She spent 6 weeks in the hospital. They diagnosed her with borderline personality disorder. They also suspected delusional disorder, and heavily hinted at long-term childhood abuse, though they couldn't say much more because she didn't give them permission to disclose details. She refused visits from anyone, including her own family. Instead, she said the only way she'd communicate was through handwritten letters. So I did exactly that. Every time I visited, I'd drop off a letter, and the next day I'd come pick one up from her. And as wild as this sounds, in just 2 months of exchanging letters, I got to know her more deeply than I had in the entire decade we spent together. It reminded me of the good parts of her. The person she used to be before things got so broken. She used to be the kind of woman who'd travel to help build schools and dig wells in struggling communities. She didn't just throw money at problems, she used her hands, her time, her heart. She was the kind of person who'd help a lost tourist get on the right train even if it meant missing her own. There was something special about her. She was like a hidden treasure, full of kindness and potential. Even when we had enough money, we'd ride public transport just to relive the days when we were broke but happy. We'd travel with barely any money and challenge each other to see how far we could get. Those were the best days of our lives. We were so in love. So close. It felt like nothing could break us. But something did. Somewhere along the way, it cracked. And in our letters, we tried to figure out where and how it all fell apart. She admitted everything, her mistakes, her guilt. She took full responsibility for how she treated me. And she knew the only real outcome now was divorce. She said she had so much healing to do, that it wasn't fair to ask me to carry any more of her burden. She said, if I were in your shoes, I wouldn't bring up divorce. So I'm doing it myself. Because if I don't fight these battles on my own, I'll never grow into who I need to become. She didn't know how long that process would take. But she said if she ever gets there, if she becomes that better version of herself and I'm still around, still open, she'd love to try again someday. I've always believed in fixing what's broken instead of tossing it away. But people aren't things. You can't fix someone who doesn't want help. And truthfully, I didn't have the strength to fix her anyway. I'm using every bit of energy I have just to try to fix myself. If she hadn't made that decision to divorce, I probably would've. But it's because she did it that I saw a glimpse of hope that maybe, someday, she could find herself again. So instead of finalizing a divorce, I offered her a separation. I told her, let's give it a year. If we still feel the same way, we'll go through with the divorce. But if, by then, we believe we can rebuild something healthier, then we can try again. From scratch. She agreed. She said that's what she hoped for when she got out of the hospital. That if we'd seen each other too soon, she wouldn't have had the strength to stick to her choice. And honestly, I still hadn't let go of all the bitterness from before she was hospitalized. So this space, it's probably what we both needed. We're still writing to each other. For now, that's enough. At some point, she visited my mom. In one of her letters, she told me what my mother said, that no matter what happened, she'd always be like a daughter to her. That she didn't need to fight for her love, she already had it. That kind of love doesn't vanish overnight. She asked me if I was okay with them staying in touch. I told her that's not up to me, it's between them. That said, she won't be seeing my mom much anymore, because I made a huge decision. I moved with my mother to another country, Germany, so she could receive treatment at one of the best hospitals in Europe. We're originally from France, and I've been living in Germany for almost a month now. One of my foster brothers came with us, he works remotely too, and he's been a huge support. I'm learning to delegate at work. That was one of the resolutions I made during therapy. Yeah, I started therapy, and it's something I never thought I'd do if I'm being honest. But many of you encouraged me, and I'll forever be thankful for that. The sessions are intense. Emotionally exhausting. There were days I walked out of the office completely drained. But slowly, it's getting better. Right now, I'm working remotely and flying back to France once a week to wrap up a few things at my company and continue therapy with my current therapist. I didn't want to switch. I'm learning how to prioritize myself for the first time. That's something I've never done before. My mom's doing better too. That's the hardest topic for me to talk about. But maybe writing it out here will help me find the strength to talk about it in real life, too. A few years back, we were still bouncing from hotel to apartment, never staying in one place for long. It was rough. But the government always found us somewhere to sleep, since we were a single mother and child. My mom, she's always been beautiful. I remember more than once, men would offer her a room or an apartment in exchange for things. And they'd say it right in front of me. I don't know what happened between her and my father, but she never wanted to be with another man again. She once told me that love doesn't end when someone dies. That death doesn't end a real relationship, it just changes it. There was a charity that helped find places for us to stay at night. One night, a man from the organization said we could stay at his apartment until they found something better. We were stuck in a dirty, unsafe hotel, so I convinced my mom to take the offer. I just wanted us to sleep somewhere warm. After dinner at his place, he tried to force himself on my mom. She shut him down immediately. he told us to leave. So we went back to the hotel, but our room had already been taken. We had no choice, we slept outside. That night, a group of men tried to rape her. I was just a kid. I tried to help, but one of them hit me so hard I couldn't even stand. Thankfully, a few strangers walking home from a party heard the screams and came running. They saved us. The attackers ran. For years, I told myself that my mother was almost raped. I repeated that lie so many times that I started to believe it. But she wasn't almost raped. She was raped. In front of me. And I couldn't do anything. We never spoke about it. Not once. She just got up, took my hand, and said, "We can't stay here. We need to find somewhere safer." That was it. We carried on like nothing happened. Like it was just another night to forget. And somehow, she still found the strength to move forward, to raise me, to work her fingers to the bone so I could build something of my own. Every cent she ever made, she poured into my future. The business I run today? It exists because of her. I don't know how she survived everything she's been through. I honestly don't. Now that I've finally said it, that my mother was raped right in front of me, I wish I could talk to her about it. I want to. But I don't know what good it would do after all these years. Maybe it's not my story to bring up. Maybe it's hers to tell, if she ever chooses to. Anyway, for now, her health is improving. Things are looking up. The future feels a little more hopeful than it did a few months ago. I think that's it. That's all I have to say. This is my final post. To everyone who's been reading and following me through these incredibly tough months, thank you. I mean it. From the bottom of my heart. I hope whatever's ahead in your life is brighter than everything that's behind you. Take care.